So it's actually your turn.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
I get told
I was just
a
trying to
lot.
use it well.
Wow. I get told
You
my
get
mom
focused.
and my
I'll set you
sister.
up.
You have a sister?
There you go.
I get told my mom.
What you do?
Wait, your mom's
Oh,
your sister?
I put my phone in my pocket. I do have a phone.
Oh,
I got you.
What?
So am I out?
That's it, that's good.
I got you.
Dang.
Is it right?
Alright, I gotta put a few things away. We can play more later. But you sure it's coming?
Get a screen protector.
Did you know that people like this are easy to bully?
You know people like this are easy to bully. And then the person who's easy to bully is punches.
My friends are not here. Like, Judah and Aiden.
She's like, get away, man. The level of diss. The level of diss.
Oh, I gotta see this.
I gotta see this. Wait.
I remember Micah when
Poor Micah. Wait. Micah, it's a bunch of girls going and on with pictures of you. What's wrong here? I'm not sure what the
Because
problem
they're
is.
ugly. Daniel.
That's Judah next to him.
I wish so.
Why does it look so small?
I don't know.
Wait, Micah has a phone?
No, yeah, he does. Wait, what?
He just got a phone.
Oh, is that you? Wait, I need your number. What?
What are you doing?
That's not my
Can I see baby Micah?
This is like as
That's
embarrassing.
probably
I was
like-
like, you know what? I'm gonna stop that joke.
You need to go to baby Q.
Aww.
Their whole baby Judah section. Yes.
It's its own section.
But yeah, they're in sections.
Judah was.
This isn't really baby.
Bro, Alex was so chubby when he was little. It was like legit funny.
Dude, we should have one of those parties.
I was always so.
There's a party that a lot of you do where everyone brings a baby photo in. You have to get it printed. Print the baby photo.
I don't have
I'm not
it.
doing that. I'm not going to that party.
Wait, no,
I think I lost all my
You usually
videos.
got a picture where it's
Oh, wait,
someone
there's
down
one in
there.
there.
So
She
you
would
take
always
the baby
cut it.
photo, and it has to be like a legit baby. It can't be toddler. It has to be like.
Whoa.
when
But
you're
I
like-
have a reason
It
when
would be
I.
like when you're hairless and. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, we can make some exceptions. We can make some exceptions. Youngest photo you have, we'll say that.
I feel like this is gonna
And
be.
then what happens is you bring it in a
I know,
sealed
he used to
envelope
always ask me.
so that no one
Actually,
can
it's so funny
see like
because
you brought
I
that
never
one.
thought they looked alike.
I was like cute.
And you write your name on the back of the photo. And then we put the photos into some of the games. And the games involve guessing who's
Oh
who.
yeah, I remember.
Mine's
that.
actually
Everyone
based on the
always
baby
asked
photo, and
me,
you're the
but
only
did
one
you
who
not,
knows.
like,
Oh, well,
write-
I.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you're the only one who
I
knows your
tried to
baby
just, like,
is you.
I have a photo of me.
It'd be
I
super
can't
easy.
find it, but I used to have a photo of me going like this.
Maybe not.
Well, if you get young enough, if you can get it really young, like 2 days old kind of baby photo, super hard to
Oh
tell.
yeah, Judah.
If it's like a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, it gets way easier.
What?
That looks like me.
Facial traits and hair traits.
It does.
But there were some kids who were born with a different color hair.
Baby,
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like than the one that they live
little
with.
I'm
man.
naturally blonde.
He dyes it every day.
Oh my God, he's so
For me,
Yeah,
it's
what
not
happened?
my hair color. It's mostly that I had my hair
Before we
bleed
ruined
my
his
hair.
hair.
I have a lot of pink on my face.
This is true.
Oh, I see a baby Caleb.
Wait, yeah,
Yeah, and then
I will destroy you.
Oh, we actually sell stuff.
Yes.
This is our little snack bar. In addition to being just a hangout spot.
Why did I
So wait,
put that pink shirt?
how did you do at Riverbank?
crispy dough. Pretty good. I threw a putter.
These are all Micah photos, so Micah.
What's the most confusing
Why do you throw away a
Yes.
putter?
How?
What was the shot?
It's like one of the easiest courses
Well, no,
I've
I know how you throw away a driver. I've thrown away a driver. How do you throw away a putter? I don't get it.
I don't know. I threw a putter like really far. I don't know how. I just did. I don't know. I
So
only
you guys
used a
ever play
putter.
frisbee? So
I
you know,
only used a
there's
putter.
a sport called frisbee.
He didn't let
It's just called.
He didn't let you use a
There's like
driver?
basket, you
No.
have to pick
I
up the
chose.
Oh,
to use a
yeah,
putter.
They make different
I chose to use a putter, and I
There's
did
actually a
better
frisbee
than
called
most
a putter.
people did.
Like you
I
have
did
it
better
called
than
a putter,
Ants.
and
And
it
I.
flies
Whoa.
straight, but it doesn't go very far.
No, I just.
So you literally.
What'd you
switch
do,
out
run
this
up on
frisbee
pads
throwing,
and
like,
No, I just.
so you have
I
a
just
frisbee
took a simple
used for
step.
driving.
How?
That's really
Wait,
easy.
so you know hole one, right?
Yeah.
But it's terrible.
With the little practice basket.
So like you use the driver.
How far? Describe where that
They have a mid-range.
That disc I kind of threw it bad. It went into the bushes. But my second
Usually-
one,
Bushes, there's two sets.
Do a big drive, it goes a little off, it lands on top of the tree.
and then I got into there. So then my next throw, I made it almost all the way to the
than
basket.
the bush on the other side.
Cause like I don't
And
pull
then I
color
was
in the
able to
bag
get
until
almost
it's
on the
10
net,
feet.
and then it
Like, the worst you could ever throw is like.
And then on the
10 feet
second,
past.
no, it was on the fourth or the third one that
don't know how you
I,
do that.
no,
It
yeah,
was
it was
like
the fourth
clipping a
one,
river to block
and
the
I
sun.
hit the thing all the way to the mound on my first one.
Wait. The one on the hill?
I always
What
felt
about?
a lot of
And then so I got the pad, right? I throw one, I had kind of a bad throw. The second one, I made it almost 2 into the basket on my second one. So I threw it about 50.
You should get some discs. Cause I'm launching at almost 300.
I don't know how, but I at least got it.
You can also order your photos through the year by that. If you shave them at the ears, then you can chronologize.
Buddy, what?
Carter just like jumped off.
Yeah, you can put them in chronological order because their hair will just grow a year.
Wait. This is why I'm still saving up for a wig.
Like alphabetize, right?
I was trying to do
Chronotize?
the
I've never used it
that
before.
one.
That's really weird.
Chronological eyes.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah, I said she loved you.
Oh, I heard like a rumor.
Whoa.
See if this is true.
Someone's eating chairs.
That's all. I just heard a rumor.
So it sounds
We
like.
were actually just.
No, we were just watching this.
That is.
I do have to tell you, Hannah, that your children talk like you.
Yeah.
That's not me.
There's everyone talks with a different meter and a different tone. Everyone does. Every human on the planet.
Meter, like timing?
Yes.
Okay.
And you have a specific meter and tone that Jeannie largely copied in your guys' childhood. And so she'll switch it on and off. Jeannie will
What
suddenly
makes
talk
you
with
think
Hannah
that
here.
that she was copying me?
Because you do it all the time and she doesn't have to.
Oh. I guess that makes sense. She's older though.
Correct.
So I should have been copying her.
You would think, but your children do it. Not all the time, but they do it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
No.
I haven't detected as much of Nate's meter in the way they talk. It's a lot of yours.
Well, I talk to them all day.
Yeah, Uncle Nate is always just like gone.
Well, you still work.
Okay, so I just went to Chico, got a haircut.
Sounds like me.
If you close your eyes, it kind of sounds like Hannah too.
This is like.
That
Oh, yeah.
His voice dropped.
It does.
And we drove
Because this was not that long ago. This was like.
all the way to Durham.
It's totally out of Hannah talk.
Yeah, I
You hear it now?
no.
That's so cute. I like the.
So
They're like nodding, I don't know.
Chico.
What would you like? Oh,
I love that. That's the kind of thing that's like he would find interesting enough to say.
So you don't want Skittles?
Alright.
Everyone's like, Micah, you're so tall, but it makes sense because you're in the
Wait,
Skittle
wait, are we
family.
gonna play-
But it's like, my dad, he comes from such a short family.
Your dad?
My dad, when you,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
look
Like your
at,
mom is so tiny. Or
no,
his mom.
when you put my dad next to all of my mom's brothers, he's like, and they're like,
Oh, you should have heard.
Okay, wait, if we're playing the game, we have like,
I don't
Style.
Did you not get to play?
no, every single time
We
we've
have an
done a
Xbox.
game, I'm like,
So
so basically every time there's a game happening on screens, I don't think it's like because, and then it's like,
I'm leaving.
handle,
Literally, I have $50 at home.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
it's a pancake game. Don't you understand?
This is the 360.
oh, that's why.
It's not an Xbox One.
Oh. So yeah, basically every time there's a game on the screen, basically what happens is
Everyone
I get
grabs
here.
one except for you?
Yes, I get here like 10 minutes later than people, and there's a game happening. I'm like, can I play next?
Okay.
round?
I
And
think
they're
we're gonna play
there
like
isn't
all
any.
of one round. That's about it.
Wait, what is it?
We're just gonna play one round of a computer game and then.
So the towers?
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
get to
The
play?
one with the towers?
Yeah.
I want to play this time.
No, like the one with
I
the.
don't get to play.
You can
Tetris towers.
stop whining. Grab a controller and a chair.
Tetris towers.
Tricky towers.
Tricky towers. What?
It's like Tetris with physics.
What is what?
You know Tetris?
Yeah.
It's like Tetris but with physics.
I
Like
guess
you
I'll
don't
stick
stack them right, it falls
I have a
over.
question. What
I'm so sorry.
We're going over here.
That is so not cool.
Some of them have dead batteries, so you just don't want that one.
It's
So you just push on the center button, the silver X, that turns it on.
okay. Well, I got it.
Okay, stop pressing the X. You guys are messing with the computer.
Stop
Once
pressing.
it's on, leave the X button alone.
This is why you don't trust them.
Stop pressing it! I can't even start the game if you guys keep pushing it.
Yeah, guys, stop.
Stop.
We can have 4 people.
Good morning. How are you, Grace? Doing great. Stop pushing the button! I'm gonna take away your controller privileges.
We were on a boat ride yesterday.
Really? Where'd you go?
I don't remember the name of the river, but it was a river about 10 minutes away from our house.
Hell yeah, with the big bills.
Wait, so is the button X?
Don't push the X button unless your controller's off. If it's off,
On the way to camp, Patrick.
Tricky towers.
Pint of ice cream and we all ate it. On like the 15th.
Tricky towers. No. Yeah, Tricky towers. What other games do you have?
Let's go. I got some Skittles.
We all ate it.
Oh, Steam. I love Steam.
Like, I'm with bro. That was actually really
my,
No, you're the best
father-in-law
cousin.
has both.
I gave. You were so not fair when I gave you my stuff.
well, you told me this, but like, we've known each other.
I'm stealing.
They let you sign in.
Why'd you get sour?
Because I like sour.
Sour Skittles is the best. I'm Sour Skittles.
The original is the best. Wait. Okay. The original are good. Wait. So I can buy 10. I can buy some. How do you play this game?
My mom decided not to let me have it. Wait, guys, stop! Stop
I don't know how to
it!
do
Stop
it.
it! Stop that! Mom, stop!
Okay, guys, so if you go to local battle,
No, local
Okay, stop.
I'm not moving! Oh. Oh, is it Daniel? Oh, it's Daniel.
I'm just trying to go back to the right thing. One of you guys have a broken stick? No, one of you is messing with us.
I'm holding it like this, so.
Okay, somebody has drift or something. I am not moving.
Take your fingers off the tank.
Okay, press A once if you want to join.
I am actually. Why are all these guys dark?
Wait, which one am I? Wait, how do I? Wait.
Just see which one moves when you move.
Okay. So wait, what? Okay, let's. Oh, okay. I'm this
Why did someone?
I'm at the end.
You're pressing like another button or something.
Okay, pretty sure.
I figured it out. I just don't know how to get to the guitar. I guess I'm a girl, guys. Whoa. Okay. Not cool. That's sexist.
Exactly. Race. No, I don't like it. I've never played this game before, so.
It's just Tetris with physics.
This is the music I imagine for like some kind of bond.
Yeah. That's just Tetris with physics? Oh my gosh. I've never had physics in my life. What are physics?
You live with physics every day. What are you talking about?
No, totally not. Bro, why are it's supposed to go there, bro?
Just don't worry about that spot that's missing.
Wait, how do you use power?
Oh, wait, not cool. Not
How do you use
cool.
power? Oh, wait.
I was so
X and B.
close. Bro, I was actually so close. Not cool, man.
Hey, man! Oh, wait, that actually helps.
Yeah, that kind of helps.
That helps so much. No! Bro! No, I hate the physics in this game. I hate physics. I really do. I would have hoped physics die in a fire. Yes. Bro,
Okay,
who
guys,
keeps
it's not how that
doing this? Actually.
I think think it's Daniel, because Daniel's the only one that's not getting affected by it.
What are you talking about? I have ice blocks all from my tower.
Oh yeah, I just placed ice blocks.
It's Carter's fault.
I don't know how to use physics.
How am I supposed to build with this ice? This ridiculous ice. How am I expected to build?
Bro, my tower's about to fall. Bro, it's called,
easy.
bro, the tower's about to come crumbling down. It's called physics! Actually,
Stop with the bubble.
who keeps doing that? Bro, I don't know. I don't have any powers right now. If I did,
Right
we
now.
all like, wait, dude.
Right now.
Aren't we all
Yeah, and if I, stop hating it! Stop! No!
No, not my big
No, no, stop making my block so big! No!
Is it not a good thing though?
No, it's
If you can put it in the right spot.
no, it's not.
I don't know how to deal with instruments.
Haha!
I'm getting powered up to death. This is insanity.
Stop it!
Why is this game? Bro, you made my tower fall down!
I don't know what to do about this.
I just crossed the finish line and the whole thing fell apart because the ice you guys set with me. Oh my gosh. I just felt, I was like gonna win.
Wait, I'm getting it down. I'll keep going. Okay, wait, no!
I might be able to build my empire again.
I'm never gonna build my empire again. Bro! Oh, wait a minute,
But this isn't the block I need. Okay, someone's gonna die.
I did that to someone. I just did that and it was funny. Bro, who made a big and thank you? Icy. Both me.
What?
Is that Daniel? Did Daniel just win?
Maybe. It was such a Baji tower at the end. Look at how bad that is.
Yeah, I haven't played this before, so I don't know how to play. I think I did good for my first try.
Now you can start with like a brand new start.
Trust me. No,
Better base.
you did not.
Hey, Micah, that's not encouraging, and you're my cousin.
I feel like you should be trying to encourage your cousin.
I think you
here,
just
Micah.
lost your favorite cousin status. No.
Oh my gosh. Micah, you're not the favorite anymore? What are you gonna do?
Kill someone.
Well, Micah,
Just like violence all the time, Micah. Why
see, Micah, here's the thing. Violence is never the answer, and I don't think you know that.
Sometimes it is the question.
But sometimes it is the answer, and I use violence a lot. Not really. You know.
No, you use violence so much, it's like not even fair that I don't get to use it as much.
Wait. What's that? What? Guys, get wrecked. Actually get wrecked. No, my tower! Instant karma? Question mark? Oh, wait.
Stop it! You're making this take so long.
Yes, I did it. I used the big block incorrectly. No! I keep losing my big block.
That's so good of me.
It's so funny. And no. I wonder if I just like post that right there.
I don't even know what to do against
I can't even do anything. Well, you have to use physics to your advantage, and that's kind of hard to do because I don't know how to use physics at all.
Carter is so full of advice. I love it.
Wait a minute. Yes, this helps.
Bam.
No. Wait a minute. Ha ha, guys.
There's just one of my blocks swinging back and forth. That does not make it no.
Wait, I'm doing it. Guys.
My blocks just...
No, my block is moving. Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Guys, just wait.
What the... It was just swinging back and forth until it died.
No! My whole tower!
just put it like off of the tower. Do that every time you win, you just like make it go off.
Daniel is low-key good at that.
Hi, Logan.
Welcome, Samuel. Do you want to play? You sure? You can have mine. Okay.
The keys. Maybe we could tie it to a chair and make it. That would be funny.
I don't know if Samuel would come back to church after that experience.
No, he'd be fine.
No, I don't think.
I mean, she, right?
It's Samuel.
That doesn't answer my question.
We don't know.
I didn't attempt to.
Well, like,
I gave you safe ground to stand on. You should
okay,
take it.
no, that doesn't, because there could be girls named. It makes sense. That helps actually.
It really does. Thank you so much. Actually, man. No! I always get instant karma after using those things. Physics, please go to my advantage. Please. I'll give you some Skittles. I don't think physics wants my Skittles. Wait a minute. I think physics does. Physics is working with me.
Thank you, physics. Thank you so much.
Physics is helping. Not really. No. It's being a pain in the butt. No.
I feel like you learned that word because you're a pain in the butt.
No, Micah, that's you.
Stop hurting my feelings.
I put some sugar down.
I don't know if feelings are a bad thing or a good thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know either. I just gotta put them down and hope it's a bad thing.
Are you putting? Wait, do I press a button to make my power up?
Yeah, X and B.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Oh, wait, I just got rid of one around.
No, stop it.
That. And then what I'll do is that. Okay.
So you gotta do
Oh, nuts.
I'm working. It's
How am I third place? I'm literally winning.
Micah, I think I'm winning right now. No! No!
Let's go! Oh!
Did someone say something about winning?
I just lost all of my stuff. And now I'm really sad.
Thank you, physics.
I wish I was a programmer on this game, but
Okay, I might actually win.
Whoa, that's cool.
You want to know something? You're not gonna win because I said no. I've got to get a sturdy foundation.
I'm in first place. Oh my.
Somehow I am doing this. What?
Somehow-
my tower is falling. No.
Did someone say first place? I did. Because I'm
Did someone say I'm not gonna actually be in fourth?
How am I actually perfectly balancing this? I'm about to win.
I suck at this game.
Obviously, Patrick. Don't ask how I know your name.
I just crossed the finish line. I crossed the finish line.
I wanted to look dapper today, so.
Dude, my tower was taller.
Wait, you're new.
You just got there first.
Who are you?
He's trying.
Oh, dude, you're catching up. Look at that. You're one behind.
Let's go.
Okay.
You know what? You know how we see emojis? We see Can we play Smash Bros instead? I'm a lot better at that game.
Bro, I literally destroyed all of you.
Patrick, you got here late, bro.
I played on the.
You wanna try me at Smash Bros?
At that game.
No, sorry, Patrick. Not gonna happen.
I'm always second in Smash Bros.
Is that a brag? I'm not sure why you brag about
Yeah,
that.
because every time I try to beat you, you always win. You're too good at it.
Bro,
That's not.
I play on the original Xbox 360.
I have an Xbox 360 too, bro. I don't have a GameCube.
Exactly. What's a GameCube?
It's what Smash Bros was on when it was back in the early stage.
Wait, wasn't it on the
N64 originally.
Yeah.
I I used to have an N64.
Guys, shh, I'm trying to concentrate.
Micah, you want to know something? I don't think anybody cares that you're talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carter's in a mood, man.
Yes.
He's always like this. He's always like this.
Oh yeah, especially the Micah. I'm always like this.
Poor Micah.
I'm in first. Come on. Hey, man. Stop it. It was so perfect. That actually like helped me. Oh.
This game kind of demonstrates how slow and
Rachel.
steady wins the race.
Good on.
This game is a prime example of stupidity on top of a lot of other things. Yes.
Who is
But
first? Oh my gosh, that is literally the Twin Towers.
I know. Okay, I was perfect before this. I was perfect before someone decided to ruin my life.
Yeah.
Which is me.
I also ruined my own life. I have ruined my own life more times than I can count.
That's
sad.
commitment.
Wait a minute. My tower is not working out.
Hey.
Smile thing just fell.
Why?
Who the heck is first?
Daniel, most likely.
Of course.
Daniel's like insane.
He's too got to end all of me.
Yes.
I just figured out how old video games were. They're 64 years
Why
old.
did my rock just turn big?
I thought that was obvious, man.
Oh no.
Bro, and it isn't Pong.
Daniel, that's not a very godly word.
I thought Pong was.
God made the nuts too.
Okay.
Some random.
Bro, actually, who did the bubbles? Me. Actually, no, I think I did something else. Hey, oh, wait.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yes, that's really good for me. Yeah, that's really good. Oh! I was in second! Let's go!
I was so close.
I was in
So
second!
close. I was so close.
I got second. Let's go.
Well, I got third, really?
You got third.
How's that even like possible? Quadrilateral.
You must gotta get good.
Who won?
Daniel, of course.
Hey, Micah beat me once.
Daniel Horse?
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, not Daniel.
Want to know something? I don't believe you, Daniel. Micah is not allowed to
The
The
dude
guy
with the
that
moon
scored the
staff.
first right now. Yeah.
At this early
Just
stage,
started and he's
I
first.
was gonna say, at this early stage doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, you guys could probably.
So you're the second from the left.
Yes, that is correct.
Whoever is second, oh my gosh, what is this? I'm sorry.
Well, now I'm first, so too bad.
I like the original Tetris.
I don't know, there's not as much physics.
What?
There's not as much physics.
Yeah, but like,
Oh, she just did that to give me a worse block. I was gonna get rid of it anyways.
yo, that block that has that.
Bro,
Stop it! What? No! John!
That's bad.
all these ice blocks are just to be thrown off.
I don't know.
Okay, actually, we keep making all these ice blocks.
Oh no!
I unbalanced it.
Who's first? Oh my gosh, you're not gonna be able to do
Oh
anything.
my, bro, I know, I am first and I can't do anything.
Oh wait!
What if the balloon do?
Bro, oh no,
It just
never
makes
mind.
Yeah, I
everything
know,
worse
I had it
for
balanced for a
everyone.
second. Wait. Actually, that helps.
Oh.
That helps, that helps, that helps. No! Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, wait,
Yeah,
no,
there,
that
there,
kind
there.
of helps actually.
Yeah!
Oh, oh,
No! No!
Carter, you got the same thing I did.
well, yeah, do that.
That's terrible.
If you get lightning up as one of your X
Oh,
choices, you can
wait,
use
hold
lightning
up.
to take it back.
Oh no.
Come on, second.
Oh yeah, there we go. Cool.
But that's
Oh, I see what you meant.
Yeah, I think Daniel's
used the
winning
other
again.
one. Fine.
No, I can't do anything. Bro, oh my. Oh, X. Get rid of a block. Oh no. Let's do that, and then I'm gonna go to the square. Oh, that doesn't matter.
Why did that happen? No.
At least I'm not in.
Slow and steady wins the race. Right, guys?
I'm in forth because this one block got
Who's
hit.
second?
And that's why I'm going as slow as humanly possible. And I was close, but I failed.
Okay, so
So I can't get rid of this like one block.
Micah, how does you balance? Bro, what is this
Because
balance?
I'm using my.
Bro, guys, stop using the balloon. It keeps giving me this one block back.
I'm going
Take
to.
that.
I am. No! I hate you. I mean, not you. The
Oh.
I'm doing this. It's not gonna work. Wait a minute.
Damn.
I hate the bubbles that take my blocks away.
Oh, you got so close. That was insane.
I wasn't even nearly close.
Dang, that house is on the.
It's built to code. It's built to code. Alrighty, guys, it's time to find a chair and a Bible. Let's get started.
Whoever was all the way to the right, their power didn't even like break at the end. Daniel, she didn't win again.
How the heck you trying to stab me? I just had this. Why are you right out here?
No, I'm being an NPC.
Alright, guys, grab a chair and a Bible.
Will you shut up with that comment? I've heard it too much. For the last 2 years. Heard it like 2 years.
I will. Really? 2 years?
Oh, Daniel, I got some Nautica.
Oh, yeah? How was it?
It's so cold
Oh,
in
it's
here that
good.
I'm sweating.
It almost landed on my phone.
Just feed it. Cause you know that you can, so feed it. Feed it.
Alright, that's not nice, man. That's not nice. Hold my sink real
Kids
quick.
downstairs are like dying right now,
I
crying.
found my chair.
Probably are.
Patrick, is this your classroom?
How did we get here?
Yes, he comes to Hope Academy.
Is this the classroom you're in, Patrick?
Yes.
You want up here? I got you.
Mr. Patrick, get a Bible. Grace, get a Bible.
That was amazing.
Open that Bible to First Chronicles.
What is first one?
Wait a second.
Whoa,
Should I check
not
my
cool, man. I'm just stealing someone else's secret.
Wow.
Where's your tap shoes?
I'm sorry, Ty.
No, shoot.
He has like these shoes that look like tap shoes.
They're just sambas.
Tap shoes.
What's a samba?
Tap shoes.
You know,
Look, you have to have those right now.
Alright, where did I put my
they're just foot.
You're a really nice friend.
Bro, you just dropped the Holy Bible.
Except for when you come to collect
Yeah,
them.
put some three Bibles on the ground.
Pick it up.
Literally dropped the Word of God. That's like one step above dropping the ball.
Honestly.
Alright, we are going to be jumping to a new book today. We just finished 1 Samuel last week.
Wait,
And
what?
we talked. Do you not remember finishing 1 Samuel?
I don't think you was here.
Oh wait, I was this time.
You actually missed it?
No, I didn't miss it.
Oh.
I thought I did.
Why don't you
hold
say
on.
you were. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I
You
forgot
were
I
here.
did.
You were here. You were here.
We finished 1 Samuel. Now, if you go in your Bible and you try and find 1 Samuel, it's a few pages back. You'll see after 1 Samuel comes.
No.
What is it? Second Samuel?
Kings. Something like that.
2 Samuel.
Second.
1 Samuel, 2 Samuel. It's not a trick question. 1 Samuel and 2 Samuel, then you get to 1 Kings, then you get to 2 Kings. Those books, 1st, 2 Samuel, 1st, 2 Kings, they share timeline with 1st Chronicles and 2nd Chronicles. But they're written at different points in history, and they're written by different people. The difference is, and this is a pretty big difference, Samuel and Kings were written around the time the events occurred. They're written right as they were happening. Chronicles is written as a history book. Just like you guys have a history book in school, that's what Chronicles is written as. It was written hundreds of years after the event by people who wanted to make a book that explained it all, that gave you the full context. So it wasn't written by someone who was living through it, it's written by someone who studied these things. Now, it's not like a history book today about back then, because if we're writing today about back then, it would mean we were writing about something 3,000 years before us. And when you go back 3,000 years, a few things change, and it becomes a little more difficult to speak to the context or to understand what people were thinking, to know what the culture was like. However, when they wrote Chronicles, it was only a few hundred years later. So it would be a little bit more like us writing a history book about the beginnings of America. We understand those people a lot better than we understand the people who lived 3,000 years ago. They share a lot more culture with us. They share a language with us. And so that's what Chronicles is. Chronicles is a history book written by people who still speak the same language. They understand that history pretty well. They're only a few hundred years removed from it happening. The reason we're jumping to Chronicles instead of continuing on into 2 Samuel is because, well, it goes a little faster and it gives you that context. It's written by a priest, someone who thinks a little bit like a pastor. So as you read through Chronicles, you're not just going to get the straight, here's what happened, then this happened, then this happened. You're actually going to get a little bit of teaching embedded right there in the chapter. However, today we have something special. We are not just going to start picking up with storyline. There's actually going to be a little bit of wiggle room here as we reprocess a beginning, because this book wasn't written as a continuation of 1 Samuel. It's written as a replacement for Samuel and Kings. So there is an introduction here we have to move through before we get back into the history we just left off on. So you can see there's 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, then Chronicles. They're right next to it. But it's also next to Ezra and Nehemiah. And these are the guys who are actually writing these books. So these events took place back here, and you can see the dates. Samuel starts around 930 BC, 1000 BC, roughly around there. And Kings ends around 600 BC. They're writing in 450. So by the time they get to the end of 2nd Chronicles, they're only writing about something that was, 150 years before them. Does that make sense? It's only 150 years for them. It's not that far. But the beginning of Chronicles, since it goes further back, is still a pretty big jump for history. All right, so we're going to be getting into 1st Chronicles, and then here's your old timeline.
Wait, 1st Chronicles?
Yep, 1st Chronicles. How many times have I said 1st Chronicles?
So
About
we're
like
skipping
5
2nd
times.
Yes, notice the timeline.
Because it's shorter.
Here's 1st Samuel. Here's 1st Chronicles, but also 2nd Samuel. It talks about the exact same period of time.
I got excited.
Then you've got 1st Kings. Then you got 2nd Kings, and look at what 2nd Chronicles does. It goes right in the same span of time as 1st and 2nd Kings. Yes.
Okay, why is 2nd Kings longer than 1st Kings?
This is timeline. So this is the period of history it covers. It's not word count.
Oh.
Okay? So there are books with a lot of words that are also covering a large amount of time. Those exist. Genesis and Psalms. A lot of time, a lot of words. There are also books that cover a long amount of time with not that many words. Okay? So it really goes both ways. There's even books that are really long and they don't cover very much time at all. Time-wise, they cover very, very little time. The prophets would all fall into those categories, especially the major prophets like Isaiah. Isaiah is not going to be a big, long chunk of time. It's so small, actually, I can't even see it on here. Where's Isaiah?
I see it.
Where is it?
Wait, what are we looking for?
Isaiah.
I don't see it.
We'll turn off the black stuff.
Oh, there it is, yeah. So Isaiah is seriously a long book, but it only covers a tiny amount of time in comparison to some of these other books. Because these other books are like history books. They're meant to cover huge swaths of time. That's their purpose.
Wait,
All right.
the picture to say something?
It's my photo of Caleb.
That's fine. Put it away. Look, can I see?
when you said
Thank you.
Chronicles, I just thought about Narnia.
Yeah. Do you guys know what the word chronicles means?
No. Nope.
No? It's a synonym for journal. It means you are putting things in time order and you're retelling them.
Ah.
Journal is I'm putting them in time order because I wrote them down in time order.
It's called Chronicle.
Does that make sense? So a chronicle would be more like a history book. Yeah, Hannah.
Oh man, sorry.
We're going back a step.
Oh, why do you think that they skipped First Samuel?
With their retelling? Good question. It's the who's writing and the why they're writing. So who's writing is Ezra and Nehemiah, these early priests as they come back from Babylon. Why they're writing is because the nation has lived in Babylon for so long, they don't fully remember their own history. And when they go to tell their history, they have a slant, they have a tilt. They want them to understand that they are the chosen people of God and how that came to be. And in their telling of that, they don't find Saul to be a hugely purposeful character. There's not a lot of moving them along as the chosen people of God that is in Saul. Now they do mention the bad kings later, but that's because they also need to tell how you guys fell, why you were sent off to Babylon, and why that doesn't nullify the first half, the how you became God's chosen people. So you need the good kings, you need the good kingdom, and you need the turn bad period to both be in the story to properly tell that story. You don't need the early king who was also a bad king before we became a good nation and followed God to tell that story. So it's not super duper important to the message they're trying to deliver as they give the history. They do also just give the history. But what's weird is they actually don't start right here. This is a bit of a misnomer. The bulk of the book starts right here. The actual book starts right here, which is why 1 Chronicles also covers this period of time. We're actually going to start today all the way back with Adam. Yeah.
Question. So I'm looking at the orange line, not the one that says Old Testament, but like right below Psalms, that one. Okay, why does the number start, like under Genesis, it starts in the 4000s, but then goes lower and lower?
Okay, so BC is a reverse year system. It counts down to 1.
Oh.
So it goes, like if this year was 2 BC, next year would be 1 BC.
And then 0 BC and then...
There was no 0. I know that's super confusing and it throws off all the math because number lines always have 0. The years don't have 0.
So
you go from 1 BC to 1 AD.
That is so silly.
It makes the math awful.
It should go to 1 BC.
Yeah, because if you
to
add 20
negative-
years, if you add 20 years to 10 BC, you should end up at 10 AD, right?
And why is it backwards?
You don't. You end up at 9 AD. Because there's no 0. Isn't that so messy? I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Yeah, sorry. More questions. Mateo?
Wait, so are we in the middle of Genesis?
We are literally starting the beginning of Genesis.
No, we're in the middle.
Why would you say that?
Because 500 years is 2,000. So 523 years.
We'll see the orange arrow though. To the beginning. This one?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of Genesis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle. No.
Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Beginning is not middle. Middle is not beginning.
Okay, well,
We're at the beginning.
In the middle, God
we
created.
are in the middle.
We are in this room. We're going to read first chapter, First Chronicles, and it will be picking up with Adam, which is very early in Genesis, not the middle.
Okay, well, when Genesis goes to like boom, you gotta go from like you eat a sandwich, you get to the beginning, and then you get to the middle. We're in the middle. We're the good stuff.
Oh, Genesis ended at 1500 BC.
I know where to
Genesis ended
get
at 1500 BC.
I know where some
That's like 3,500 years ago.
Ever meet. Okay.
It ended 3,500 years ago.
And how are we
Daniel.
there?
We're reading
He's
it.
talking about the middle. Not
You
the end.
shush. You shush. My computer's not-
Nobody wants to hear it. So in Genesis, it says like there's. Oh, I get it. Okay. I get it.
Did you just forget which book I was saying? What Genesis is? What do you think of a different book?
Yeah. But so like 1,000 years ago, they were in this time, like time travelers or something.
No.
I'm confused. This is like a real.
We're reading a history book. That's all it is.
No, but we
I
were
wanted to read a
okay.
history
So
book, I would go back to
Genesis is like 4,00004 BC, and then there's
Which
and
is
then-
over 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, but when you go slowly down, there's 2023.
AD.
Wait, we're in 20. Oh.
We're AD.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. This isn't a different numbering system. This is just older time.
Okay.
This is just further back.
I don't think he gets it.
He was taking the reverse numbering to not mean a different set of numbers, but a different way of counting current years.
Oh.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's a mathematical confusion.
I don't think
Essentially.
Carson
Yeah.
So when was the concept of 0 invented? Was it by the Romans?
No, it was by people in the
by the Irish. Concept of
The Irish.
Middle East had several mathematical bugs for the world.
Okay, because I remember
Spread
the
out
history
today.
does not have an
Everyone shush.
Yeah, zero wasn't a concept for a lot of societies. Because zero was a philosophical idea, not a mathematical idea.
Bro, someone.
Zero's
Well, they didn't have math back then.
Well, someone once told
I
me
wish I
that.
was there back then because I hate math.
Alright, we're gonna go ahead and read. I don't think we're getting anything out of this.
I must ask a question.
Chapter 1 is covering this whole span of time. This whole span of time is chapter 1. It's from 4004 BC all the way up to 1100 BC. Okay? There's a lot of time. It's over 3,000 years we're going to do in one chapter. You guys ready? Here we go. Woo! First 4 verses. Here we go. First 4 verses. The descendants of Adam were Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah. How many was that?
Numbers.
1, 2, 8.
It was 9.
Oh. 9!
If you count Adam, that's 10 generations.
14.
So 10 generations right there.
86.
And those boys,
49.
those boys in those 4 verses cover so much time. When we just read off that list of names, you've suddenly covered from 4004 BC all the way up to here, and then a little out to here if you count all of Noah's life. 4 verses, several thousand years. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, now we move on.
Wait, we're reading.
We're just rapid firing a few thousand years. That's all that's happening right now.
Only.
That's all that's happening. Then we get into verses 5 through 7. The descendants of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. The descendants of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The descendants of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. If you guys are struggling with baby names for your future, you know, this is good material right here. Just flip back to 1 Chronicles. Name your kid Kittim. I swear that'll be popular in like 10 years. Give it 10 years, that's gonna be a really popular name. Alright, so,
I don't think so.
who did we just read? 5 through 7, who is this?
No.
What family is this? Yeah. You can name your kid Ham, please do. Please do. If he grows up with a sense of humor, it'll just be all the better. Alright, who did we just read? 5 through 7? Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it called a hamburger if there's no ham in it?
That's a really good question.
Hamburger should be
Really good question. We can get into it later if you want.
Just meat and bread.
It's called a.
burger.
It should be called a cow.
So you got to think about Old English in the British Isles and the meaning of hamburg, and then it starts to make sense. But essentially, it's cheap meat.
So.
That's what you're saying when you say hamburger. You're saying cheap.
Do more than interview.
So
It's what
basically,
poor people eat.
so basically, it should be called a cow sandwich.
No, not even a little, because there's so many versions of cow. Hamburger refers to the fact that I couldn't sell this meat because of the shape it was in or the look it had. So I blended it up and ground it into like chunks of meat, and then I sold it, and it was sellable all of a sudden. And only poor people wanted to eat it back then. And it was named after Hamburg, which was their slang for tiny town.
Dang. It was about.
So it means like
So
you're a redneck, therefore you eat this, but British.
So.
That's a blue neck.
So, yeah, as it turns out, hamburger was like a slice.
I like that.
So it's supposed
That's a
to be.
crunch. I like my
So
burgers.
we should be calling it grounded up.
I like turtle.
Ground beef. That's what we do call it.
Yeah, but you gotta put it.
I feel like this is not important. Not important. All right, guys.
No.
Go back and look at your Bibles.
No.
Alan?
I have to ask one question.
It's Bible time.
Good. What did we just read? 5 through 7. What did we just read?
I love some hamburgers.
Nope. Patrick, shut your mouth. Thank you.
He's been stealing things.
That's not.
You've been stealing things.
It'd be hard for him to steal without you stealing. Thank you. All right. We're gonna read it again. 5 through 7. One more time. The descendants of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. The descendants of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. The descendants of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. Anybody know what we just read?
Pokemon.
Nope.
When you were talking about the list of baby names that you could do.
Good.
Bro,
Good.
who
Anyone
names
else?
their kids?
Yes.
We're talking about the descendants of the people.
Which guy?
Adam.
It's on the page though. It's not Adam.
Joseph.
Nope.
Japheth.
All right, guys, who's Japheth?
Some guy in the history of time.
That is the answer to the question. Who's Japheth?
Name your kid Joseph, not Japheth.
No, they did that later. It didn't exist yet.
Joseph? No.
Yeah, it has a big
All right, guys. So what we're reading right now is one of the 3 sons of Noah. So you've got the ark with Noah and his wife, but you've also got 3 boys and their wives, all in the ark. 8 people total. And of those 3 boys, you're related to one.
I'm good.
We're
So-
cousins.
I don't know which one you're related to, but you're related to one of them.
Wait, what?
So wait,
And
we're
what
all
we're reading-
technically
Wait, we're all related?
because of
Yeah, we are. We're all related.
Did you
Mira
just put all
explained it
this
to me.
together?
Technically, Mira explained it to me that we're all related.
Okay, so who did we just read? We just read the descendants of.
Related to this kid.
Anyone?
Did not.
Anyone? Micah, don't move anymore. Please stop talking. Who did we just read? It's literally the giant bold title across the top. No, not that far up. Right above verse 5.
Bible.
Japheth.
Japheth is correct.
Bro, Japheth.
All right, so we just read the descendants of Japheth. That's one of the 3 sons. One of the other 3 sons.
They had a lack of goodness.
Micah, don't say words. You can raise your hand.
Sons of Noah, guys.
Noah.
Nope. What are the other 2 sons besides Japheth?
Watch that movie again.
I don't know. Michael Jackson.
Nope.
What is his
Yes.
His brothers.
Yes, their names are.
What is that? Wait,
Homer and
got it.
Oh wait.
what?
Okay. Everyone shut your mouth for a moment.
Peter.
We've all read it,
Peter.
which means the answer is on the page right in front of your face. Go back to verse 4. Look at verse 4. What are the other 2 sons?
I see it. I know it.
And they are.
and Ham. Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
How does he speak and make it sound like it's coming from
It's
over there?
so weird.
Do that.
Praise.
Shem and Ham. Thank you. Now,
Bruh.
as you go back through,
I don't care.
you didn't raise your hand. Shut your mouth.
I did.
That time you did.
You can only talk.
Corrected.
All right, now those 3 boys, their names are actually part of the original people groups that we see, and these people groups actually get their names from these guys. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of anti-Semitism. You guys ever heard
What
of
is that?
anti-Semitism?
No.
No. Okay. It's
Sounds like something demonic.
it's Nazi stuff.
Nazis
Like
kill Hitler.
Jews. But this is the weird part.
Isn't it?
Jews are not the only. Jews are not the only Semites. Semites are a people group much larger than just the Jews, and it includes everyone who descended from Shem. But not everyone kept track. Not everyone was closely monitoring or even cared which of Noah's 3 sons they descended from. It didn't matter to them. Some people groups did. Some groups did keep track. Are you okay? We have water fountains in the hall.
I'm COVID-19.
I'm
You don't sound good though.
I'm good.
16
Okay.
feet apart.
Well, if you can't stop, you should get water.
Well, I just choked on a Skittle.
We're like 19
That
feet
is a
apart.
bad thing.
What? I thought that was the recommended way of doing it.
No.
All right, so
Yeah, I'm gonna
these
go get
people
some
groups,
water.
we can actually track through their generations. We can track through to the other civilizations in the area. We can start to figure out where the ancient civilizations came from. Lately, though, we've had more. Alan, shut your mouth. We've had more means to do that than we used to. We used to have to just rely on things like history books, things like this. We had to rely on word of mouth. You know, what was some people group's tradition? What did they say about themselves? But now we actually have.
He is the funniest guy.
So random.
No, it's not how your nose ring.
Oh, I was thinking of that.
No, don't.
That was
Is this fake or
random.
real?
Lately, we've had more means to actually track this, and we've been able to verify some people's claims of where they came from, what nation their nation descended from. And in other cases, we've actually refuted claims. We figured out that some nations have always believed they came from this other people group, and actually no. And the way we've done that is through DNA. Do you guys remember in your science books learning about the mitochondria?
Nope.
I never
Nope.
You guys have never learned about the mitochondria?
It's
I found that balloon.
It's 2023. Everyone in my generation knows the mitochondria. mitochondria is the
Don't
powerhouse of the cell.
Even though I like.
What grade level is that?
Yeah.
Like every grade level.
I'm in 7th, so I don't.
Alright, so there's this weird little factoid. Every person on the planet gets a weird combination of DNA from their parents, right?
Yeah.
Your DNA is just like a combination, random flip-flops between mom's DNA and dad's DNA. However, there's two other things about DNA you gotta know. One is your mitochondria comes from your mom and it never comes from your dad. Ever, ever, ever. It always comes from your mom. And the DNA for the mitochondria is inside the mitochondria, and it's always a perfect copy of your mom's. Unless there's mutations. So your mitochondria is separate from all the other DNA, and it's literally just the DNA using device inside your cell. It's what makes use of the DNA. So you have to have one for your DNA to be useful. So before your cells even start to divide, before your cells even start to like live and thrive, you have to get a mitochondria from your mom. This mitochondria keeps her DNA intact throughout your life. So that if they ever wanted to test who your mom was for real, they can just check the mitochondria and it tells you.
No.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, now this gets a little weird. This gets a little weird because if you get your mitochondria from your mom, doesn't she get her mitochondria from her mom?
Yes.
So for girls only, your mitochondria is the same as your mom, is the same as her 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 mom, and it just keeps on going. And the only changes happen from mutation, which are rare. It's about like 3 per generation on average. Some people will be born with no mutations, they'll have an exact copy. Like billions and billions of bits of DNA, perfectly the same as their mom's. Isn't that weird? And through that, we can actually trace how many generations apart you are from someone. Because on average, there's only 3 mutations per generation, you can actually take your mitochondria and someone else's mitochondria, decode all the DNA, and you can count how many differences there are. And if you divide by 3, on average, that's how many generations you'd have to go back before you have a common ancestor. Which is really cool. Now for dudes, there's the same thing, but it's different. It's the Y chromosome. Every male gets their Y chromosome from their dad. They can't get it from their mom because the mom doesn't have any Y chromosomes. So every male's Y chromosome comes from their dad. And that dad's Y chromosome came from his dad, whose Y chromosome came from his dad, whose Y chromosome came from his dad. So you never get a mixture of mom's DNA in the Y chromosome, and you never get a mixture of dad's DNA in the mitochondria. So every person has in them this little frozen copy of all the DNA all the way back to the original source, plus any of the mutations that happened throughout the generations. So it won't be a perfect copy, but because it's such a darn near perfect copy, like, you know, maybe there's 15 differences between you and a really far removed cousin, out of billions of little A-B choices, and you've got like 15 differences.
That's so nice of you.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, so this is only a tiny portion of your DNA. This is why you don't look precisely like your mom or precisely like your dad. This is just one little fraction of your DNA. But those fractions are so perfectly frozen, we've been able to use them to take DNA samples from all over this world's current population and some ancient DNA samples, which is really cool. Sometimes you dig up an old body and the DNA is still in there. So you take all those samples in view and you can create a family tree of how many branches are there on the planet and how far back do the generations go before they connect. And what we found out is that they come back to a 3-piece branch in both the male family tree and the female family tree.
That's a treat.
Why is
Isn't that cool? And it's the right number of generations.
Okay,
It's the right position on the timeline from where Adam is to where Noah is to where we are. Where like the 3 branches are really close up to the top of it. They would do it vertically down for some reason, like tree roots, I don't know why. But it's really close to the top trunk where it splits into 3. And it's really close to the top trunk where it splits into 3 on both the guys and the girls. What's different though, and this is so cool because it totally matches what the Bible teaches us, is that on the guy's side, right before the 3, it's immediately 1, and it's 1 all the way up. And that's only explicable, it's only sensical if the 3 families that we all come from had brothers as the dads.
Wait, what?
If the 3 dads that we all share, one of those 3, happen to be brothers, is the only way that family tree takes that shape. And that's what the Bible teaches us. Now, on the other hand, those 3 brothers on the ark with Noah, his 3 sons, they did not marry sisters. They just married whoever they fell in love with, okay? So those 3 moms that one of all of us share, or that we all share one of, they're not related as sisters, so they wouldn't turn the tree from a threefold branch immediately into a one trunk branch. There would be some wandering as it finds its way to a one trunk branch. Does that make sense? So that's what we see on the female side of the DNA, on the mitochondrial side of the tree. We actually see that the three meander into one a little bit further up. And on the guy's one, it goes to three and it's immediately one at the same generational point. It's really cool. All right,
I'm distracted by your
Patrick.
What is a Y chromosome?
So in your DNA, you actually have several different strands that keep themselves separate. They don't all reside in one gigantic strand. And these individual strands we call chromosomes. And when they coil themselves up to take up less space, because your DNA can like go for miles if you stretch it out in a straight line, it's stupid. But when you cram it all into a nice tight shape so it stays compact, it forms these oddball shapes. When you look at them under a microscope, they look like the letter X. It's a really wobbly, like bad version of the letter X, but they look like the letter X. However, for guys, one out of all your other chromosomes is missing an arm, and it's Y-shaped. For girls, it's just all X's.
I thought it was a wrist.
No, that's completely separate.
That's how it happened.
All right, I got a question. I got a question. Serious question. Heart to heart here.
Yes.
Michael, let's say you fell off something and you broke your rib and you went to the doctor and the doctor's like, I can't heal it, but we can remove it. And you're like, okay. And then you're like, will my son have one less rib when he's born? The doctor
Okay,
would say,
I know that. I was just joking.
why would he have one less rib?
I know that some people believe that, but I don't believe that. I was just making a joke.
Oh, okay.
I got my turn.
All right, real question.
Okay, real question.
Since I got lice.
Wait, so when Noah had his 3 sons, who'd they marry?
Just other people? Random
Yeah,
people?
but they
Some
were the
random
only
people.
people on Earth.
After the
And I
flood.
was like,
They got married way before the flood. The flood happened. You're thinking of Adam. You're thinking of Adam.
What?
You're thinking of Adam, aren't you?
No.
No, you think of Noah on the ark?
Yes.
Okay, when the world gets flooded, it's not 8 people living on the planet. It's thousands and millions of people living on the planet.
Get over here.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, there's still people. Yeah.
Let's go back.
Well, because they were.
Let's go back.
Wait, no, what did I'm thinking the nuisance.
Because they were. Hold on. I shouldn't say. I shouldn't say.
Pause. I'm going to give you the straight truth, and we'll see if it corrects your thinking. Okay? Straight truth. Ready? Here we go.
I want to explain.
Wait.
Beautiful.
Adam created. Wife. Eve created. Okay? Yes. Only 2 people on the planet. Shh. Stop it. Only 2 people on the planet, right? That makes it weird. That makes it different.
Yes.
That's special. Okay. They have kids.
Yeah.
Those kids probably do have to marry each other. I can't think of another way around it.
Dang.
I know. Now, think about this though. There's no culture.
The genes were perfect.
There's no culture.
So like they
Culture
could marry.
doesn't exist. So no one is there to go like, ha, you weirdo, you married your sister. That's literally all anyone did. They've never met anyone who didn't marry their sister, except for mom and dad, that's it. And God actually came from heaven to make him a wife. So like, it wasn't weird. Did you get it? Like, there's no one to make
It
them think
wasn't
it's
weird then, but now it's weird.
Yes, but they're not here to be looked at by us.
They are sussy vodka.
So it's fine.
Daniel, they are sussy vodka.
You can go ahead and tell them.
Vodka?
All right, so.
I haven't heard that in like.
But just as soon as generation 2 has their kids, suddenly you can marry as far away as your cousin. You don't have to marry a brother or a sister anymore.
Wait, I can marry my
just,
cousin?
No, not you. Listen to the words I'm saying. Just as soon as generation 2 has their kids, so generation 3, immediately, you can start marrying a cousin. By generation 4, you can marry people you've never met.
I got
Does that make sense? Like you're meeting them for the first time. So boom, 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 right here. Suddenly, you could marry someone you don't even know how you're related to them.
Okay.
It happens real fast.
Okay, let me.
Okay, now,
Oh my.
thousands and thousands and millions of people are also being born, not just these people only. These people have a direct line to the nation of Israel, a direct line to Jesus Christ. That's why they're mentioned in the Bible. They're not the only people. We're up to millions and millions of people by the time you get to here. And that is because you have thousands of years from there to here. Thousands. Think about that for a second. Your parents weren't born
I get it.
by
Okay.
1900.
My
Like, they needed
question-
time for that.
Okay, my entire question was I thought that Noah's kids didn't get married yet, and so
They went on the boat single?
yeah.
Nope. They went on the boat with wives.
Okay, well I didn't know that.
Okay.
Okay, well now I know.
Sweet.
That's
Now you know.
That's funny phrase.
Now I know. Micah, what's up?
Bro, that's the Gucci.
So basically with the Y thingy, the Y, right?
The Y chromosome?
Y chromosome. Yep.
I don't know how to make a Y with that.
I don't think you can with your hand. It doesn't have that many fingers.
Wait, actually.
Wait, you have to, when the X...
Go ahead. What's the question?
So like, basically, instead of saying my dad's dad, I'll just say, technically, my dad
So technically you're
was,
your dad.
some people think that my dad was made from soup, right? Right, because like evolution is like you came from soup, right?
Sure.
So that doesn't make sense because I know my dad's father. So I just solved everything.
Thanks, Micah.
Wait, I have another. You know evolution.
I should go in America's Got Talent.
You know.
Bro, I will be there.
I would actually watch an episode of that show.
I would too.
I would actually watch it.
I would be there live.
Okay, now it's you. If you have a comment, please raise your hands.
Wait,
Yeah, exactly.
Elliot, we're gonna read another chunk. Okay, we did Japheth, now we're gonna do Ham. Another chunk, like a paragraph or more.
Oh.
Here we go. Verses 8 through 16. The descendants of Ham, this is one of Noah's 3 sons, were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Sabataka. That's just a great name.
There are too many names.
I know! The descendants of Rama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush were also the ancestor of Nimrod, who was the first ruler born on earth. Mizraim was the ancestor of the Luddites, Enamites, Lehabites, Naphtuhites, Hathrusites, Casluhites, and the Kaphtorites, from whom the Philistines came. Canaan's oldest son was Sidon, the ancestor of Sidonians. Canaan was also the ancestor of the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Okay, bag o' chips. You won't get to eat it in about 30 seconds if it crinkles again. You're gonna throw it in the trash, full of chips. Okay?
That'd be nice.
No more crinkles.
Go dive in the trash.
Do you know how hard it is to read that many names in a row? Come on. All right, the last bit here is actually the most important part for the rest of the Bible. Canaan's oldest son was Sidon, the ancestor of Sidonians. Canaan was also the ancestor of, and then it gives you that big long list. That big long list is the people who lived in the part of the world that Israel took over. When Israel came back up out of slavery from Egypt and out of the wilderness, they took over Canaan. That's what became Israel. And Canaan was named Canaan because everyone in that area traced their ancestry back to the guy named Canaan. So sometimes people say things like the Canaanites. But what's weird is the Canaanites is not a specific group of people, it's a general group of people. We have something very much like that today. We say Native American.
Yeah.
But Native Americans are not one people group. They didn't speak one language. They weren't all friends with each other. They didn't like share land and have a central government.
No.
Native Americans fought each other, had different languages, different cultures. Some of them didn't like each other, some of them did like each other. Like, it was a complete soup of different peoples that were not related to each other anymore. But, as a big group, we call them Native Americans. That's how it was with the Canaanites. The Canaanites were not one big happy family. They were not just a bunch of people who all freely traded together. They didn't have a central government. They didn't all speak one language.
Why?
There was too many years from when they were all related. When you go from Canaan, the one they all had shared as a great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa, down to when they had Jebusites and Hivites and Amalekites and all them, they didn't really know each other anymore, other than the guys who live over that hill over there. That's it. Alan? You gotta stop. You got a lot of funny stuff to say, but you're not raising your hand ever.
It's his earring. He's turning rebellious.
What?
It's true.
Is it like a little devil on your
It's like
shoulder?
an earring and
but
a
stuck
nose
to your
ring.
ear?
So like he's like I'm not the same Alan you know anymore. I'm in 8th grade now. Like
He
bad
said
boy.
it's pirate.
You're in your bad boy.
Emo.
So, we see from Ham's side of the family, we get the Canaanites. Where are the Israelites from?
Israel. Canaanites.
Nope.
Oh, Israel.
Yeah, where is Israel from in this family tree? They're
It's
not from
Egypt.
Japheth. We read Japheth's whole family tree.
Egypt.
They're not from Ham. We read Ham's
Egypt.
whole family tree. Stop saying Egypt. You didn't raise your hand. You're
Can't say
wrong.
much.
What's the only one left? It's still not Egypt.
Bethlehem.
Nope. I'm talking about people. Where are they from people-wise? Who are they from?
Oh.
So it's not from Japheth, it's not from Ham, so it must be from...
Noah.
Noah!
Yes.
Is it Noah?
No.
Oh, then it must be Adam.
No.
Wait, then Adam must
We're trying to get specific. We're trying to get specific. It's not they're not from Adam and they're not from Noah. There are from Adam and Noah. That's not specific. We're trying to get to the one they're from on the family tree.
Noah.
No, below Noah. His son, not Ham, not Japheth.
But his son's son?
No, just the third son.
Elijah.
Shem, thank you.
I was about to
All
say
right.
that.
Yeah, good job. All right, so here we go. We're going to read the descendants of Shem. Yeah.
Well, is it possible to figure out exactly which son you're from?
You and me?
Yes.
Yes. However, at this point, there's been so much intermarriage since that time in history. You're likely from 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, right.
Dang.
So at this point, yeah, it's really easy. Just point to all 3. You're probably right. But yeah, if you know your heritage and you know you come from like a really pure line, like 1 or 2 generations up, you can usually track that pure family line. Like if you're 100% Greek, if you go back 2 generations, or 100% Native American, if you go back 2 generations, you can usually figure out what that line comes from, and it's only one of them. Because in past civilizations, there was a lot less intermarriage. It was rare enough that the majority of descendants from every culture was pure blood of that culture. So for a long time, hundreds and thousands of years, you were only from one son. Most likely, most people were. And then there were some oddball marriages that broke cultural boundaries in all points in history. So it'd always be like a random few who were from multiple. But majority-wise, yeah, everyone was just from one.
That's how I sit.
Okay, now we move on to Shem. Let's read 17 through 19. The descendants of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram were Uz, Hul, Ether, and Mash. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah. Shelah was the father of Eber. Eber had 2 sons. The first was named Peleg, which means division. For during his lifetime, the people of the world were divided into different language groups. His brother's name was Joktan. So during Peleg's lifetime, we get the Tower of Babel. This point in history is very important because it not only gets big language groups to form, where we actually do see, if you look linguistically, you can do the family tree thing, just like with the Y chromosome, just like with the mitochondrial DNA. With language groups, we can actually trace back common languages by reading old books and seeing how language changed slowly over time. There's some really odd things that change over time. In English even, if you go back and you read the Old King James, you'll find there are words in that version of the Bible, and it's only like 400 years old, and in that English Bible, there are words that you and I think we know. But they're not the same definition.
It makes no sense.
It's still English, but 400 years ago, some of our English words literally meant a completely different thing
That makes
than what they mean now.
no sense.
I know, but it's true, and we've been able to trace it and figure it out. So a good instance that you can look through and see all throughout the Old Testament
Write me an
and a
essay.
little bit in the New Testament of the Old King James is the word halt. What does the word halt mean?
Just stop very fast.
To stop very fast. However, in 1600s, that's not what it meant.
Oh wait, it meant to stop in the name of the law.
No, not stop in the name of the law. I know this is a small potatoes example. Like, this is not important, but it's just an example. It's one of the
Oh,
few I've been able to
potatoes.
memorize. It does not mean potato.
Potato,
French fries.
potato.
Halt in that era, in the 1600s, meant that I
Literally.
can't walk
That's how I
smoothly.
sit.
That I walk poorly. I'm stumbling. I'm not able to keep myself up. I'm sometimes
You're
falling
drunk.
down. But it doesn't speak to the cause. So it could be because you're drunk,
Last
could be
time I
because you're
walked like
injured,
that, I was on
could be because you're blindfolded. Like for any reason that you might walk poorly and barely be able to walk, you'd be walking haltingly. And sometimes that use, haltingly, still gets used today, although that's pretty rare now. But the word halt back then just meant that. That's just what it meant. And that's why haltingly now means that. And we've twisted the word slowly over time. There was no point, it's not like in 1718 someone decided, we shall change the meaning of the word halt. No, it's just that haltingly got used more than halt, and haltingly kept that meaning. And eventually we started to think of it as walking and stopping often, And then eventually we started to think of it as the stopping you do while walking, and then eventually we thought of it as stop. It was organic, it was slow. But you can trace those by reading the books and how it's used in the sentence. And if you keep doing that for every language on the planet, and you keep doing that for all books for all time, you can create a tree of language evolution and go backwards and figure out when the languages split from each other. There's a lot of languages you might hear today called romantic languages, and it has nothing to do with romance. It's because they all come from Latin,
French.
the Roman language. Roman, romantic. So all of these languages like French, Spanish, Italian, they all come off of Latin. And so they all share really similar rule structures. Some of the words are actually just barely even spelled different. They're almost the same. And the biggest difference you'll find when you look at the structure of Spanish, Italian, and French is modern. And the biggest difference is usually not in the root words. The root words are usually all shared. So we see these evolutions taking place. When you do that, though, and you create the family tree, there's a weird thing that happens. You find basic language groups at the top of the tree that don't touch. They don't touch. As you keep going back in the language tree, eventually you get to a point where there's just a Proto-Chinese, and there's just like a Proto-Latin, and there's just a Proto-Greek and a Proto-Aramaic, and there's no...
What's proto-beef?
Means the before, the ancestor. The first one, the model, the beta, the alpha model.
I thought proto meant that it was like you're like a pro at Minecraft and then you added toe.
No, it's short for prototype.
Oh, so you're like a pro at toes?
Beta fish.
Typing with your toes, yes.
Oh yes, okay.
You forgot the last part of the word there.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is weird unless there's a point in history you can point to and say, look, all the languages suddenly sprouted up.
Wow.
And that's actually kind of weird if you think about it, because if evolution's true, what you should see is you should see the early humans forming out of chimpanzees, and their speech is like...
That's not right. That's false. False information.
That'd be so fun. We actually have 90%.
Like, that should be like the original language. But if that's the original language, then you should just see earlier and earlier languages in forms that make less and less sense to the modern man. And that's not what we see. We see languages going all the way back, and then suddenly they stop. And as far as I can tell, the only logical explanation for that is if there's a point in history where all those languages stopped, and then all these languages start. It doesn't make a lot of sense otherwise.
It doesn't make sense anyways.
But it does, because God says, hey, at the Tower of Babel, I'm going to give everyone these brand new languages and force them into groups they have to cooperate with, but they can't all stay together, because I told them to go fill the whole planet up and not to stay all in one place, and they disobeyed me, and they all stayed in one place.
And they try to make a tower up to heaven.
Kind of almost irrelevant, because the whole command wasn't, don't make towers, towers are bad. The command was, go fill the earth, guys. And the people decided, let's not fill the earth.
Let's not make babies.
Well, filling the earth wasn't necessarily about having kids or not having kids. Filling the earth was about like, there's a big planet out there and you've made one city to all live in together. It's like the opposite of filling the earth.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have two things to say. I feel like the earliest language was probably hitting somebody on the head with a stick, and then second, what language did Adam and all these people speak?
Isn't that funny? We don't know.
We don't know.
No,
I
we
have
don't
a
know.
theory
When he confused the languages, if he kept one of their languages, like the old language, we don't know which one it is.
Probably hitting somebody on the head with a stick. Like I'm saying.
You're going around Babel, everyone's trying out their new languages, and there's just like one group of guys, they all have sticks.
It's sign
They're
language.
all just whacking each other. Like, okay, I'm glad I'm not in that group. What would your internal thought process be? Like, you know what I mean? Your inner monologue? You just like sit there thinking about sticks hitting you?
And sticks hit you.
I just don't get it. I don't think that's a good language. Okay, so
I feel like it's a great.
get to the Tower of Babel with Peleg, but we gotta keep going. We're not quite up to the Israelites yet, so we're gonna add a few more names on here. So this is verse 20. Joktan was the ancestor of Almadad, Sheleph, Hazar, Maveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab.
There's some really weird names.
Jobab. All these were descendants of Joktan. So this is the family line descended from Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Serug, Nahor, Terah, and Abram, later known as Abraham. that is where a lot of Genesis focuses, is on Abraham and his descendants. This is where the story bends to pretty quickly out of the gate, like right after you get past the Tower of Babel. God calls Abraham in 1980 BC, and he brings them out on a journey to find the chosen land, promised land. And he mostly doesn't get it. He makes a lot of mistakes, and he ends up not really claiming all of that. But his boys
Hanging out with the wolves.
do. I think I got that count right. Verse 28 says, so the sons of Abraham were Isaac and Ishmael. These are their genealogical records. The sons of Ishmael were Nebaioth, the oldest, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael. The sons of Keturah, Abraham's concubine, were Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. The sons of Jokshan were Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Abraham through his concubine Keturah. Abraham was the father of Isaac. The sons of Isaac were Esau and Israel. And there you'll notice his name is Israel. They change it because that was his second name, his new name after his covenant with God. Originally, he wasn't Israel. Does anyone remember what his birth name was? Esau and...
Amindigo.
Isaac.
Not Isaac, that's his dad.
Amindigo. Abendigo.
Starts with J.
Joseph. Jeremiah.
He's also the pastor here.
Jared.
Jacob.
Jacob! There you go. So he's originally Jacob, then he gets transformed into Israel. I'm sure it was just like the anime, where there's like all the glowing lights and
I never watched it.
and like his robe transforms into a big stripe.
Oh no, yeah, I know that.
Probably not.
You're thinking of Power
It would have been fun though. It's definitely really good anime.
I'm
All
not
right.
gonna mess up.
So now we've got Israel. And Israel is the focus for the rest of the book. It's the focus all the way down to Jesus. And then God invites the rest of the world in to the family.
God is Jesus.
Jesus is God?
Yes, but for the purposes of the sentence I constructed, no.
My bad.
Do you know what Jesus' favorite dog is?
His favorite dog, no. What's his favorite dog?
A Chihuahua, because they're mean and ferocious.
That's,
I don't
that
get
doesn't make
it.
any weird logic. I don't get the joke.
Because God and dog are spelled differently.
Yeah,
The
that's
opposite.
also true, but not the same
So
joke.
since God is
All right,
the
verse
opposite,
34. Oh, we read that one too. The sons of Esau were Eliphaz, Reuel, Jeush, Jalam, and Korah. The descendants of Eliphaz were Timon, Omar, Zepho, Gadam, Kenaz, and Amalek, who was born in Timnah. The descendants of Reuel were Nahath, Zerah, Shema, and Mizah. The original peoples of Edom. This is a weird section, but Edom is a place right next to Israel, so it mattered to them because these were their neighbors.
they had a lack of good names.
They had a lot more names than we do. Most of our names could fit on one sheet of paper. The descendants of Seir were Lotan, Shobal, Zibeon, Anna, Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. The descendants of Lotan were Hori and Himam. Lotan's sister was named Timnah. The descendants of Shobal were Alvan, Manahath, Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. The descendants of Zibeon were Aa and Anah. The sons of Anah were Dishon. The descendants of Dishon were Hamdan, Eshban, Ithran, and Kiran. The descendants of Ezer were Bilhan, Zavan, and Akan. They really like the An at the end. The descendants of Dishon were Uz and Aran. All right, we're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Keep it going.
How many more names are there?
The rulers of Edom. These are the kings who ruled in the land of Edom before any king ruled over the Israelites. Bala was the son of Beor, who ruled from his city of Dinhabah. When Bala died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Basra, became king in his place. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of Temanites became king in his place. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, became king in his place and ruled from the city of Avith. He was the one who destroyed the Midianite army in the land of Moab. When Hadad died, Samlah from the city of Mazrakah became the king in his place. And when Samlah died, Sheol from the city of Rehoboth on the river became king in his place. When Sheol died, Baal Hanan, son of Akbor, became king in his place. And when Baal Hanan died, Hadad became king in his place and ruled from the city of Paul. His wife Mehetaba, which is what it sounds like when you have a cold and you're talking about your table, the daughter of Matred and granddaughter of Mezahab, then Hadad died. The clan leaders of Edom were Timnah, Alva, Jetha, Aholibama, Elah, Pinon, Kenaz, Teman, Mibzar, Magdiel, and Iram. These are the clan leaders of Edom. Okay, there we go. We did it. We read chapter 1. Yeah! Next week, we're going to do chapters 2 through 9.
No. What? How about next week?
Next week.
We got to start early next week. I'm going to go ahead.
Start early next week?
I'm going to count the names
I'll be
chapters
here at 7 in the
2
morning.
through 9 in advance. I'm going to count
What
them
time do I
early.
have to be here at?
And if you guys can give me the count of names
For what?
in chapters 2 through 9, I'll give you a prize.
What's the prize?
What price? Wait, like memorize the names?
I'm thinking like
$28.
like a gift card.
Where? Gift card? Where?
Well, but you got to get the number right.
Wait.
If you count the names, you get it wrong. I'm not going to give you.
Wait, so like count how many like.
Wait, so when do I gotta be here to tell you?
It's just for the beginning of service.
Okay.
How many names? Okay, first of all, can you remind me? Because I'll probably forget. Second of all,
There's no prize if I have to remind you.
hold on. Do we get to choose the store?
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Stop! Yeah.
Wait, I have one more question about the video about the gift card.
Before
that
we
place with really
before we
good
part
coffee?
ways, before we part ways,
I want to choose it.
I have this quote, and this quote's been used so many times, but the first person I can find that actually made this quote, the earliest user of this quote, is George Santayana. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And a lot of people have quoted this again since then. So if you see someone else being quoted as saying don't immediately dismiss it as false. They're probably just quoting the quoter who quoted him.
Quoting the quoter of the
Yeah, so it's been around. But it's a really good axiom. It's not a Bible verse, so don't take it as gospel truth. But the Bible is so full of the past that I think when you apply this to the Bible, it becomes more true than it would otherwise. Because the Bible is not history only. The Bible is history plus truth plus God's opinion. And that counts for so much more than just plain old history. Just here's what happened. There's a lot more to the Bible. So as we study the Bible, it becomes more true because the Bible's got more in it than just a recounting of the past. Now, what we read in chapter 1, it's pretty much just a recounting of the past.
Right.
Pretty much just history. But that's not what all of 1 Chronicles is going to be. We're going to move on. We're going to end up with a lot more. Okay?
Is that Gavin?
Hannah, can you shut the door?
Is there an old guy next to the door?
That's Gavin.
No, I think it's just a
No, it's an old guy.
old guy named Gavin.
Yeah. Gavin's basically a grown man.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so the reason I bring this quote up, boys, the reason I bring this quote up is because I need to give you some reason why we just read all those names. Because otherwise,
Wait a minute. History
wouldn't know the names.
kind of silly, right? However, when I read you the names, I didn't just read you the names. I stopped. We talked about the flood. We talked about evidence for the Bible. We talked about what?
We talked about hamburgers.
Hamburgers? Yes, we did. Okay, there's a lot more going on in history than just. Shh. Micah. There's a lot more going on in history than just who gave birth to who. And when you dig in past that surface layer, when you dig in past that, very, very shallow, what are all their names, what cities are they from, and you go a little bit deeper, you get a ton more out of it. If you do stop at just a bunch of names, you don't really get that much. It's boring. It's meaningless on top of being boring. If you just learn that George Washington was the first president, and then someone's like, who's George Washington? George Washington was the first president. And you're like, yeah, I remember George Washington. He was the first president. What do you know?
Nothing.
You don't really know anything.
Oh, I know that he was the first
Yeah,
political
but it's not
writer
very much.
of.
And that won't change your life, right? There's no amount of who he is. He's the first president that will change your life. However, you start looking at the life he lived, you start looking at the choices he made, you start looking at how he honored God in multiple things that he did, you can actually learn something. You start learning about what our forefathers, tried to prevent. You start looking at the mistakes that people made in history, the bad choices they made that they later realized, oh, that was a terrible choice. Then you actually learn something. Then you actually come away from history becoming no longer condemned to repeat it. Does that make sense? That is why I read you all this. And I'm always going to interject more history than they just stick on the page. I'm always going to interject more meaning than just a list of names. That is why we read it. It's because I want to go through it with you in a way that helps you to not repeat their mistakes. But instead, grow past that. I'll give you a brand new pencil after this, okay? Yeah.
So about the gift card thing.
No, not about the gift card.
No,
thing.
I
We're gonna
need to
close the
know-
prayer. You
I
can
need-
ask me after, Patrick. Not now. All right. So that is why we look at history, but it's also one of the big reasons we look at the Bible. The Bible has more, though, for us, and that's because it's not just a history book. It's also written by God, and He wants to talk to you on a personal level. And the other half of that is praying. So I really hope you guys are praying at home. I really hope you're praying throughout the day, and it's not just here with me. That would kind of suck for you. You'd be missing out on something pretty awesome.
Like $100.
No, that's not what you're going to miss out on.
Oh.
Praying and talking with God is having an entire life spent with Him, an entire life where you get to know Him.
Yeah, which He might give you $100.
He's like, you earned it.
But that's not the only blessing in knowing God. It's not just the reward in monetary senses.
He's
There's a
right.
lot of
the
reward
reward
that God
is
gives.
to
There's a
know
lot of
God.
blessing that God gives. The reward is to know God. All right, let's pray. Lord, we lift up our lives to you. We lift up everything we have to you. And we just ask, Lord, that you would teach us through your word, not just this week, but every day. Teach us through your word what it is you want to show us. Help us to learn from these people's lives that you've recorded. Help us to learn the truth that you've embedded in here. And help it, Lord, to transform us, to wash our mind, to just take away all those things we need not give time to, we don't need to give space in our brain to, and to just replace it with the things you have for us. With our heads bowed, with our eyes closed, if you're sitting here today and you're not someone who's before said, Jesus, forgive me. You're not someone who's before said, Jesus, take away my sins, give me a new life. You've not put your faith in Him. Then you have an opportunity right here, right now to do that. And I just want to walk you through it. The Bible says that we've all sinned, that we all have this problem of evil in our hearts and in our lives. And we can't get rid of it on our own. And it wouldn't even be fair, it wouldn't even be just for God to get rid of it. Except that someone has paid the price. Someone has taken the punishment we deserve. And now that the price has been paid, He can. So that's what Jesus did. He went to the cross, He died. Horrible death, but He did it in our place. He was a substitute because He had no sin, no crime of His own. And He says that if you put your faith in Him, His payment, His sacrifice will count for you. And then you can be forgiven. Patrick, have a seat. Nope, have a seat. So if you want to take hold of that promise right here, right now, today, I would just ask you to raise up your hand while no one's looking around, and you can say, me, I want that. And I'll pray with you. I'll help you out with the words. It's not magic words. They're not special. It's just you talking to God, you telling Him you put your faith in Him. You speaking to Him and just saying, I put my faith in you. Please forgive me. Make me a new creation. Give me a new life. So if that's you today, you can just raise up your hand and I'll pray with you. And you can have that brand new life that lasts eternally. It'll take you all the way into heaven. And you get to have a relationship with Him here on this earth, starting now. Lord, I thank you for these middle schoolers. Bless them as they go. Continue to work on their hearts and help them to grow. We ask that in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Right on. Thank you, guys. Yes, Alan.
Can you do phone bucket?
Yes. Yes, I can.
What's phone bucket?
I need my bucket.
You turn off the light.
What's phone bucket?
I will die
If you
without.
come to the phone, you should stick it in the bucket so you're not distracted by people all day. And then the last one out gets a prize.
Oh, mine was last now.
Nice.
How much?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh,
It's here every service.
okay, so
Wait, I have a question about
every time I'm here,
Or Wednesday.
there's a phone
the
bucket. We
gift
put our
card
phone
thing.
in
So we
there,
have to
and then
guess,
at the end of class, we
Not guess,
like,
does
we
that,
have to
and then the last one out gets a prize.
the names of
All the names in chapter 2 through
So
9.
I was putting my phone
Not
in there.
one?
So,
Not one.
Okay.
Because next week we're doing 2 through
So
9.
And Chronicles?
First Chronicles 2 through 9.
what do I get? Because my phone was last one.
You get a free thing from the snack bar for $2.
Hey, mommy.
Can you just text me when you get
Okay, well, I forgot. My phone was last one out. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Pastor Daniel, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Then I did. Let's go. I have to get something.
Yes. Can we go to? Costco. Want to help with the transway? And we can go to Costco.
They're relocating the base, but they've already moved the base. Yeah, we have a Treadway and get started. My dad was supposed to be ballet.
Wait, can I have a snack? What do you want? What do you want?
Pastor Daniel.
Let me just step. So I did not, I put the
Pastor Daniel.
you hear me.
Will you let me?
Hey, Carter. Carter. Hey, Carter.
Patrick!
Carter.
What?
You should get something and give it to me because you already had something. No, wait, just like a little bit.
Oh, he's trying to.
He knows how to sponsor me right now. You know why? You know why? So I can save up my money so I can get like hundreds of snacks here.
Or just where you buy snacks.
Yeah.
Well, Grandma and Grandpa have snacks that are really
Wait, Grandpa. Can you get me some watermelon and sour patch? Basically what happened, you get some watermelon and sour patch.
I always say you can just wait.
Can you pick up all this trash, please?
Oh, I didn't do it.
I know, it was Patrick. You can ask him to do that next time.
Yes. Where'd you get this stuff?
Real food first.
I don't know, he was ordering things from the snack bar.
homemade bread, homemade cheesy.
Stolen my money, I swear. Chill.
Pastor Daniel. Kevin, I need them on one of these.
Because I was doing this to be like,
Buddy, don't stack them over there, bring them over here and stack them. They're harder to move if they're already stacked.
right, but it's easier if I just know it. Watch, because now, if I do this,
That sounds great.
I don't have to stack it.
So you probably just makes it.
Mike, can you throw away that and use the trash?
Emily does homemade bread.
Grab that pencil.
It doesn't matter who makes it, just that it's fresh from the oven. So She's more now. Someone gave her a press and it's like changed the timing going. Cause like usually she would make tortillas from out of the middle and then up through the middle. To get it up. With the press, she can just do it in 2 minutes.
You do the core type?
Mostly flour.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I love that. Okay, well, that was my parents. I know you're homeschooled, my mom. My mother homeschooled us. So, but now they're, that was in the issue too. They're right down the hall, so.
Oh man, that looks good.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, my parents. Those are my parents.
Let's think.
God bless you.
God bless you, thank you. Have a
Have a
good
good
day.
one. Bye guys.
Yeah.
See you, Kevin.
Yeah, you're messing with that, are you?
Well, yeah.
Did you fix it?
I'm curious now.
Yeah, make sure that it's right. You know, after what you do.
Actually, I don't know what it's doing now.
What's it doing?
I think you reset it. There it goes.
Oh. That explains why it wouldn't move.
Yeah, there we go. Now it's working.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, Gavin. Okay, Jane, the lollipop. Let's think. Brunch isn't going to be till after nap. So, yeah, you could probably have it now. That'd be fine.
The next question is how do you unwrap this thing?
Oh, actually, that's very easy. You ready? You can even save the wrapper, it's very fashionable. So all we do is you wrap around and